A girl stands motionless, her mind submerged in the suffocating truth she's always carried. She is nothing more than an object. In fact, even calling her a tool might be too kind. Tools have value, they serve a purpose, and sometimes they're even cared for while they last. But her? She was meant to be thrown away from the beginning. No one invests emotion into something destined to be discarded. She rubs her hands together unconsciously, trying to chase away a chill that doesn't come from the wind. There's a slow-burning fury inside her, not born from a sense of justice or desire for revenge, but from utter exhaustion. She doesn't want to forgive. She doesn't want to understand. She only wants them all to suffer. The ones who shoved her into the darkness, who stepped over her like she was beneath them. Now she stands before someone. Not quite a man, but something more. And she speaks without fear, without hesitation. She will make a contract with him. A pact born of shadow and vengeance. The man before her smiles, amused and pleased, and calls her his contractor. He admires her resolve. And thus, the story begins. The Lord Bell family is a cornerstone of the empire, unmatched in magical might. Their power isn't just feared, it's worshipped. Magic courses through their blood like royalty itself. Ancient, proud, and unreachable. To be born a Lord Bell is to be born into legend. The head of the house, Duke Ego Lord Bell, a man who ruled like an emperor in all but name, led the family into a golden age through his sheer, unrivaled strength. His eldest son, Estiel Lord Bell, is the swordmaster whose blade gleams with holy brilliance. The second son, Bansis Lord Bell, commands the magic knights, his aura as fierce as a storm in battle. And then there is Miracle Lord Bell, the crown jewel of the family, the cherished prodigy, the miraculous child who inherited every drop of Lord Bell magic. She is the family's pride and perfection. And finally, Lucia, the illegitimate child, the name left to fade. She holds no place among their greatness, yet she dreams, always dreams. Even if she could never be one of them, she wished she could at least stand beside them. She bore their scornful gazes, their cruel words, and their cold silence like armor. No matter what she did, she was judged. Still she endured. She held on to hope. If she worked just a little harder, tried just a little more, maybe, just maybe, they would look at her. Just once. Just a single moment of recognition. Then one day, her father, Duke Ego himself, tells her he's glad she exists, that he's happy to have a daughter like her. Words she had waited years to hear, words she didn't even realize she still longed for. Her lips curl into a trembling smile, thinking, maybe, just maybe, her wish had finally come true. But the sight before her says otherwise. She stands at the edge of a cliff, staring into the void. Her brother, Bansis, yawns lazily and calls her Trash Girl, as if her name means nothing. He taunts her, tells her to stop resisting. Today, he says, is the day he prepared a flower offering just for her. Today is the last time he'll have to endure her vile presence. Another brother, Estiel, warns Bansis to watch his mouth in front of their father. But even he agrees. Lucia is worthless. A failed thing, a discarded relic. They tell her it's time to complete her mission. Lucia is left speechless. This is why they brought her here. Before her lies the abyss, vast and endless. Its darkness ancient and consuming. It's a place few within the Lord Bell family even know exists. Centuries ago, the very first Lord Bell sealed away evil gods within that pit, sacrificing a piece of himself in return for immense magical power. Since then, once every 100 years, a blood descendant of the Lord Bell family must be offered to preserve that pact. For strength, for honor, for the world's sake, one must fall. And this time, it's her. She lets out a broken, bitter laugh. What a fool she was to believe they might ever see her as something more than a sacrificial piece. Everything she did, every bit of effort, every dream, meant nothing. Turning to her father, she asks, "Am I truly no different from the beginning? Was I always just this?" He meets her gaze, calm and cold, and replies, "Yes. If your death secures the family's legacy, then your life has value. Your sacrifice will be glorious. You should be proud." Trembling, Lucia challenges him. "If it's truly so glorious, then why not offer one of your beloved children? Why not Estiel, or Bansis, or even Miracle?" His response is a sharp slap across her face. With a snarl, he tells her she has no right to speak Miracle's name. His daughter, his pride. Even if Lucia is filth, he tried to be merciful. And this is her gratitude? She's nothing but shame to him. She was only allowed to live this long for this single purpose. Through death, she might finally bring honor to the Lord Bell name. Tears stream down her face. She screams, "If you had ever once seen me as your daughter, you wouldn't do this." But he only scoffs. Her fate is sealed. Struggling is pointless. Only in death can she mean anything. Lucia's thoughts spiral. She can't die. Not like this. Even if her life has been stolen, used, erased, she still wants to live, but she has nothing. No magic, no strength, no escape. Then suddenly Miracle appears. She rushes toward them, calling out to her father and brothers. Concern flashes across their father's face as he grabs her protectively, telling her she shouldn't have come. She shouldn't witness this, but Miracle insists. She couldn't stay away. She had to come. Lucia watches this familiar, cruel scene unfold and suddenly understands. This is her only chance. Everyone is distracted. Her heart pounds. She runs, but the sky warps. The world twists. She's not falling. She's being thrown, pushed, lifted. Miracle's face contorts into a smirk, cold and wicked. Lucia's eyes widen in horror as she plunges down into the abyss, into the depths where no light reaches. All she ever wanted was to belong, just to be part of the family, but instead, clawed hands, massive, inhuman, reach out and catch her mid-fall. A voice rumbles in the dark, low and amused. Something interesting has fallen. Lucia never knew who her real parents were. Her first memories are of filth, noise, and chaos. Born again in the red light district, thrown into the lowest tier of society, she grew up among the abandoned, the discarded, the unseen. By the fragile age of 9, she learned to survive on crusts of bread and begging hands. Kindness was rare. Cruelty was abundant. One bitterly cold night, when the wind slithered through alleyways like death itself, she thought it was the end. Her tiny body curled beneath tattered rags, slipping into darkness. But when her eyes opened again, she was surrounded by warmth, the scent of clean sheets, the soft crackle of a fire. Around her, whispered voices murmured one name, Lord Bell. She didn't understand why she was there. He never tells her why he saved her, but it doesn't matter. She's no longer starving. She has a warm place to sleep, where the cold can't gnaw at her bones. It feels like a dream, far too kind for someone like her. And when she hears that she actually has a family, that somehow she is part of the noble Lord Bell bloodline, it feels as if the world has handed her everything she ever wanted. Her heart swells with hope. Naive, unguarded, foolish. But that sweet dream doesn't last. It shatters. Mercilessly. She remembers the day clearly. The day she begged at a locked door, her tiny fists pounding, her cheeks streaked with tears. It had been a year since she first stepped into the grand halls of the Lord Bell estate. A year since she started to believe she might finally be loved. But Banzas, he locked her in a room filled with snakes. A punishment? A cruel game? A twisted lesson? The hissing filled the air. The venomous bites tore screams from her throat. She cried out again and again, voice raw and breaking. But the door stayed closed. No one came. Not until her blood ran cold and her skin throbbed with the burn of poison. When the door finally opened, she was barely alive. She survived. But she lost her sense of taste. Food became ash. Life became numb. The light dimmed inside her, and then came her father's voice, not with concern, not even with anger over what had happened, just cold, sharp reprimands. He scolded Bansis, not for what he'd done to her, but for the risk he took, the danger it might have posed to his son. Not a single word was spoken about Lucia, no acknowledgement of the life that was nearly lost. In that moment, clarity slammed into her like a crashing wave. She wasn't part of this family. She never was. She should have known. Deep down, she did know, but she'd hoped anyway. Now she questions herself. Why did she hope? Why did she dream of belonging among them? Maybe, she thinks, if she'd just tried harder, if she'd been better, more obedient, quieter, invisible, but it's too late. All of it is behind her. Her broken, betrayed body plummets into the abyss. Darkness consumes her, but when her eyes open, it isn't death that greets her. It's not fire or torment. It's warmth. The world around her is cloaked in shadow, yet it feels gentle, safe. She blinks, confused. She was certain she had fallen into nothingness, certain she was meant to die, yet she breathes. She floats. Before her stands a figure, neither beast nor man. Something else entirely. His beauty is otherworldly, unsettling, a presence that seems to absorb the very light around him. He speaks to her like one might to a startled child, amused by her shock. He thanks her. He says he's pleased she's arrived. Lucia realizes who he must be. The evil god. The one sealed in the abyss centuries ago. He leans in, his voice soft, like a whisper at her ear. He tells her, this is not the world you knew. He calls her timid for her fear, but there's no mockery in his eyes. Only deep, thoughtful observation. She trembles, unable to hide the shaking in her limbs. He is the god of old. Cursed, sealed, feared, and yet he takes the form of a man more breathtaking than anything she's ever laid eyes on. She wonders, will he toy with her, hurt her, kill her? But all she wants now is peace, a quiet death, a dreamless sleep. Even now she can't have that. Even now, she's still fighting. His fingers brush against her face, soft as silk and woven from shadows. What are you thinking about? He asks. Then he tells her there's no point in thinking at all. Because she's weak. All she needs to do is listen, obey. His voice drips with contempt as he speaks of the Lord Bell family, of how they used her, lied to her, cast her aside into the abyss like garbage. Then, he asks her plainly, do you want to destroy them? Lucia's lips part, eyes wide in disbelief. Revenge? Is that what he's offering? She shakes her head. I can't, she whispers. I have no power. But the evil god only smiles, calm, amused. He assures her that she can. After all, she has him now. Why? He asks. Should they enjoy golden lives built on your suffering? Why should they laugh while you weep? Why should they thrive when you were broken piece by piece? He speaks of the Lord Bell legacy like it's nothing more than a sandcastle, erected with her pain, destined to crumble. His words are soft, persuasive, dangerous. He tells her he knows how hard it was, harder than any child should ever bear. And then he turns to her fully, eyes gleaming. Now she understands. This is a deal. Of course, he wants something in return. She asks him, what do you want? What's the price? He answers without hesitation. A contract, he says. In exchange for my help, for power, for survival, you must help me escape. Free me from this prison, this abyss, this darkness that has chained me for centuries. And only you, he adds, can do it. Lucia's voice trembles. I don't have that kind of power. I can't use magic. The Lord Bell magic, it was never mine. The god laughs. Not cruelly, but knowingly. She has no idea, he tells her. No idea what's been done to her. She is not powerless. She was stripped. Her magic, her birthright, it was stolen, torn from her without her even realizing. She is a shell, emptied and unaware. Now she must discover who took it. The realization makes her feel sick. Her chest tightens. She had magic. She was powerful, and someone stole it from her. His voice is softer now, coaxing. There's only one thing she needs to focus on. Hatred for the ones who betrayed her. Hatred for Lord Bell. She's been holding it back, smothering it, but not anymore. It's time to let it rise. He asks her to seal the contract, to bind their fates. Lucia hesitates, but in her eyes something begins to shift. Something dark. Something final. Hope dies, and wrath is born. He leans closer, voice a whisper. One last truth, he says. No matter how much blood is spilled, no matter how loud the screams become, in the end, you will be the one still standing. Then he kisses her. The contract is sealed. The abyss begins to tremble. The scene shifts. Lucia slams her small fists against a door, again and again, her voice raw from screaming. She begs, pleads. Why, Bansis? Why are you doing this? Her cries echo down the hallway. But the door never opens. On the other side, Bansis leans casually against the wall, completely unfazed by her desperation. If anything, he looks amused. He glances at his attendant, a nervous man standing rigid beside him. With a smirk, Bansis asks, do you think she'll cry? The aide hesitates, then nods. Of course, he replies. I brought exactly what you asked for. The most venomous snake we could find. The aide had thought the request was extreme, even disturbing. But he followed orders. The snake, Carzo, wasn't one that just anyone could handle. He doubted if Bansis actually meant to use it. But Bansis never blinked. The aide suspects that even if Carzo bit someone, Bansis wouldn't care in the slightest. Suddenly, Bansis's smug posture shifts. He frowns. Something feels off. Lucia had been screaming so loudly before, but now there's only silence. His aide suggests she may have fainted, that perhaps the snake bit her, and the shock overwhelmed her. After all, she's only 10, not someone who could possibly subdue something like Carzo. But Banis isn't satisfied with that answer. He scoffs, questioning what kind of Lord Bell would die from just a snake bite. He thinks of his father and frowns. What could the old man have possibly wanted from a girl like her? Still, he gestures lazily to his aide. Go check on her. If she's fainted, it won't be any fun. I won't even get to see her cry. As the aide walks toward the room, Banis stretches, stifling a yawn. His mind is already moving ahead, wondering what kind of game he'll play next. But then he pauses. The door's ajar, only slightly, but enough to notice. He narrows his eyes. Strange. He expected to find her slumped near the entrance, maybe bitten, definitely helpless. He calls out, irritated, asking what his aide is just standing there for. The man, peering into the room, replies hesitantly, It looks like she was bitten. On the back, it seems. Banis steps forward, but the aide warns him to be careful. There might still be a snake inside. Banis laughs that off. As if a direct descendant of the Lord Bell line would be done in by a mere snake. The aide quickly apologizes. But then something unexpected happens. A bag, small but heavy, is kicked out of the room. It lands with a dull thud, shifting slightly. It's moving. Banis blinks. What the hell is this? The bag twitches again, more violently now. Wythe, the aide suddenly shouts. Move away, it's dangerous! Before either of them can react, Karzo bursts from the bag and sinks its fangs into the aide's arm. The man cries out, collapsing to the ground, writhing, begging Banis for help. And then Lucia appears in the doorway. Her expression is calm, too calm. For a moment, everything halts. Banis stares. Lucia meets his eyes, expressionless, steady. She speaks, almost to herself. You finally opened the door. Silence falls. They just watch each other. For Lucia, this is the moment she's waited for. In her mind, she recalls the fear, the paralyzing fear, when that same aide dropped the snake into her room. She remembers Banis, smiling from the other side of the door. But this time, she isn't the one trembling. She thinks back to the evil god's words, the one who promised to help her. Maybe this is what he meant. Banis, meanwhile, feels something foreign curling in his gut. Unease. Dread. Is this really the same Lucia? She looks different. No, she feels different. He flinches, and he hates himself for it. The fear is irrational, but it clings to him. He draws his sword quickly, trying to slice through the tension, through the discomfort. This can't be real. With a clean stroke, he slashes Karzo down, the serpent's body thudding lifelessly to the floor. He turns to Lucia and forces a grin. You're more capable than I thought, he says. Clever, even. Since things turned out interesting, I'll let you off this time. But Lucia sees through him. That grin, fake. His composure, cracked. He's scrambling, trying to cover the fact that, even for a moment, he lost control. She smiles, just slightly. That's who Banis is. Out loud, she says it. She used to be scared of him. She really believed he was someone to fear. But now she sees him for what he truly is. Banis laughs sharply, a harsh sound meant to mock. You've gone mad. He spits. Lucia doesn't argue. I know I'm not as smart as your other brother, she says quietly. And your love is a miracle. You're not important to anyone, not even your own family. Then, her voice cuts deeper. But if I stripped the name Lord Bell from your chest, what would be left? The question lands like a slap. Banis's expression hardens. His hand twitches. He activates his sword's magic, the blade flaring with raw energy. Rage swells in his voice. How dare you speak to me like that? He shouts. I am the future of this house. I will rise with magic and sword. I am the pride of the Lord Bell name. But that future, it's still so far off. Lucia doesn't flinch. She watches him with an eerie calm in her eyes. To her, he's just a boy who can't handle real challenges. All that training, all that power, and still he has no control. Now, blinded by anger, he's about to make a mistake. He lunges. The blade swings toward her. Lucia doesn't move, but the sword never touches her. It stops midair, trembling. Lucia meets his gaze and speaks one word, soft but cutting. Stupid. In this life, she says, you're not the wall in my path. You're the step I use to climb over it. A new voice cuts in. A man steps forward, having watched the scene unfold. He points directly at Banis, his voice sharp and cold. The rule was clear, he says. No magic outside of class. His tone leaves no room for excuses. It carries the weight of someone who's done giving warnings. Have you already forgotten? He asks, eyes narrowing.